then. So hello to the recording. Welcome back. Anyway, to those not in the recording, but also in the recording, we will continue. So I was just going to share my screen quickly. Let me share which one. Let's do this one, I do believe. So this is the Brighton Fringe website. You may be familiar. I would very much recommend going onto this website. And if you haven't done so before, you can go into the Take Part section at the top and go head into the participants area if you're looking to be a participant. Now on this page, we've got lots of info pages that relate to different aspects of taking part. Some ones that I would highlight especially would be the bursaries page. So we currently have at Brighton Fringe, in partnership with various organizations, offer up a number of bursaries every year. These vary in level of support, from free registrations to monetary support to mentoring and dramaturgy and all of that sort of stuff. They follow the 2 registration periods, which I'll also speak about shortly. But yeah, they do have a look on this page here, and you can find more information by clicking into each bursary. I would also recommend looking at the how to register your event page down here, which it will so soon have a video guide on me completing a registration and this voice explaining how to do it. But I just need to finish the captioning and then it will be up there. But yeah, there's a written guide on here at the moment, which if you prefer to do that, you can have a look there. That explains how to complete the event registration in Eventatron. And then you may be familiar with this Fringe Academy workshops page, but if not, you can see all of the upcoming workshops that we're doing over the season. We'll be adding some more over the next month, but we've currently got 2 more coming up, which I would just plug. If you're in Brighton, this one's in person. It's about funding and finding funding for your events at the Business and Intellectual Property Centre. And then we also have a Arts Council Project Grants Surgery with Anna and Claire from the Arts Council, which is on the 23rd of November. This one's on Zoom, so if you are interested or in the middle of an ACE application, would definitely recommend getting a ticket to this, because they're from ACE and they go through the whole process and also answer any questions that you've got. It's a good one. Oh no, I just closed something. Anyway, ignore that. We also have a Fringe Academy resources page. So resources from past workshops. I'm just about to add the how to crowdfund recording from yesterday that we just did. But you can see this is from the last season. But yeah, most of these will have recordings and such. So here's one with the marketing team talking about how to market your event. So we'd definitely recommend checking out those. And we will be recording the other Fringe Academy sessions coming up as well. So do have a look at those. So that is a little bit of information. Actually, whilst I've got this here, actually no, we can come back to this. So I would recommend having a look through the Fringe website. If you do have any other questions, now's the time for it. If you have any questions generally about taking part in the Fringe, do pop them into the chat, and then we'll go through and discuss them. Sarah, if you had to pick one thing that you think, the one thing that you wish people knew about Brighton Fringe before taking part in Brighton Fringe, what would it be for you?
Ooh.
It's a big question that I just threw on you.
It is a big question. That's okay. That's all right.
Could be something simple. Could be something.
Well, there's probably a couple of things, but the one thing that I think is actually really important for all people, whether it's their first Fringe or their 31st Fringe, know what it is you're wanting to achieve by being in that Fringe festival at that time. So, for example, where are you in the life of your company or the life of your show or the life of you as a performer or writer or creative? What is it that you are trying to achieve? Is it that this is a bucket list thing. I've always wanted to do a show at Brighton Fringe. That is perfectly valid. That's really important. And that will inform choices you make, as will I want to have a sellout show. That will inform choices that you make about which venue you go with, where they are, how long a run you want to do. Are you looking for reviews? Are you looking for feedback? Are you looking for an agent? Or, there's a million and one things that you might want for your show. And by knowing what it is that you're looking to achieve, it can help you narrow down your search and also get a sense of who amongst all the venues will be able to help you achieve that. Because the steps that you would take to be available for reviewers, and say the length of run that you might do to be available for reviewers, is different to what you might do if you want to sell out all of your shows. So you might want to do 3 shows and sell them all out, and then that means that next time you can maybe take on a longer run. Or if you're wanting reviews, then maybe you're going to do a longer run, not worry so much about the bums on seats or numbers of tickets you sell, but actually focus on making your show available to reviewers at any time. And that's what, kind of a thing that I think is really important for people to have a sense of when they're starting out, because those choices are so very, very different.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I mean, if you know what you want, you're more likely to get it
well, exactly. Actually, and that was the point. Sorry, I'd lost my point. My point was that because you're paying to attend this festival, you're paying to be a part of this Fringe, and therefore certainly at Sweet Venues, we want you to be able to walk away with your head held high, knowing that you have done everything you could to achieve the things that you wanted to and or needed to for this show at this time, at this Fringe. Because, it's an investment. Essentially what you're doing, unless, of course, it's a bucket list thing, and then, it is an investment, but it's an investment in stories for the rest of your life. But it is an investment in you and your production and or your company and or your skills as a writer, director, performer, etc., etc. And those choices are varied. But it's essentially it's an investment, and you want to make that investment work for you. In these times when everybody is feeling the pinch, you want to make sure that you know that this investment of money was right for you, and that you were able to take every step to make it worthwhile for you.
Very wise words. Thank you. Sorry. I might throw the question over to Hattie to see if you have, is there a different take that you've got on the most important thing? And then I'll go to so we've got some questions in the chat. I'll go through those.
I would very much echo what Sarah says. I think that is definitely a very important thing, because I've just seen in the chat what makes a successful Fringe show, and success really varies as to what you want from your show. So I guess in my experience, as part of Clapback Club, I've been lucky enough. We've won awards for our shows. We've had sellout shows. It's been really kind of quite big in terms of what you might deem successful. We won the Brighton Fringe Comedy Award last year, which is a huge honour. I would say that my solo show, having someone come 2 nights in a row because they loved it the first night so much, for me is equally as successful as standing on that stage and accepting an award. They are 2 very, very different things, but both of them were hugely successful to me. So I suppose I just kind of wanted to echo what Sarah said there. In terms of what I think is really important to know about Brighton Fringe. I think that there is a wealth of community at Brighton Fringe that can be really tapped into. And that to me is a really important thing. I think right from the kind of beginning stages, if you're unsure of what you're doing, there's an incredible team who work for Brighton Fringe. It's a very small team who work very hard to support people, and there are amazing resources available, so make the most of those. Brighton is a very kind of community-led place, and I suppose because of the size of the Fringe, it's quite nice in that it's not overwhelming. You can see shows at every venue throughout. If you're here for the month, then you will probably get the chance to go and see shows in different places. I would fully recommend that. Immerse yourself in the Fringe experience. You're here for a reason. So if you are lucky enough to be here for the entire time, then I would very much go out and enjoy that and get to know different venues, other performers, hang out in kind of communal spaces. Just really soak it in, because I think otherwise you can get very focused on whatever it is that you're doing, and that can actually be quite a lonely place if that's all you're focused on. So yeah, you're in the middle of a massive party essentially with a bunch of creatives, so make the most of it. And I guess an addendum to that is that time management and self-care are your friends. So if you are to make the most of the Fringe experience by being a part of everything and being surrounded by everything, then you need to have your shit together essentially, because it's a really intense time. It's not as intense as being up in Edinburgh, for example. There's a lot more breathing room here, because it is a smaller festival. But that's where, as I say, that kind of community atmosphere is a really beautiful thing to kind of tap into, because you can really get to know people. So yeah.
That's it. To add on to that, this was something that I did actually have written down that I was meant to ask and I forgot. Well, what was your highlight from 2021? If I'll check it to Hattie first, of the 2021 Fringe, not just in general. But yeah, did you have a highlight from last year's Fringe, Hattie, that you can think of the top?
From last year's Fringe, not this year's Fringe.
Oh my, sorry, what am I saying? I keep on. I'm in my head. It's 2023 already, but Fringe. How did it go for you? It flew by for me, obviously, but
yeah, I think it was really different for me because it was my first year as participant observer, so I was much more involved in the community side of things. You know, I was going to the Ledwood Centre every Wednesday morning for the kind of participants' coffee morning, which was really nice. I was at Fringe City, like watching people kind of bringing their shows to the street for a kind of flavour of what the Fringe is like. As I say, Clapback Club were performing at the Bosco. I was performing at Sweet. And then I just saw so many shows this year, which was really gorgeous. Like, got to go and see loads of my friends performing. So yeah, it was a real kind of strap in for the ride Fringe for me. I definitely feel like I made the most of it, and I loved every second. So highlights wise, yeah, just feeling like I was a real kind of part of it, I suppose. I couldn't have fringed more than I fringed, if that makes sense.
You did fringe pretty hard. So
I fringed hard. Also, the award was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to go, then you performed it up in London as part of that, wasn't that?
Yeah, we performed at Fuse International Festival, which is in Kingston upon Thames, which is really nice to kind of go and take the show elsewhere and meet another Fringe. That was really cool.
Yeah, so before I pass that question back over to Sarah about your 2022 highlight, that's one thing to mention that I will get to, but one of the things that we run is the awards program as part of one of the things that the Fringe does. Last year, I want to say it was 17 or 18 awards that were handed out, and these are all in partnered with various organizations similar to the bursaries, but all of the award winners get a free registration to the next Fringe, and then also anything that the organization that we're partnering with for the award want to offer as well. So with the Fuse International Festival, they ran 3 awards. So they had best comedy, best theatre, and best children and young people show. Family and young people show. And all of those winners got to go and then perform up at Fuse as well. All of the details about awards will come out around March, April time, when we get to the lead up to the festival. Most of them have a short self-shortlisting Google form, just so you look through and see the ones that you're applicable for and sign up for those. But we will be shouting about those from the rooftops when they're all published online. Moving along to Sarah.
Before you do, Cameron, just to say that I would very, very much recommend anyone putting themselves forward for it. I know it takes a bit of bravery and a little bit of ego, but if Clapback Club hadn't gone for the awards, we wouldn't have been able to afford to come back to the Fringe next year, in our first year, just because of who we were and what stages we were in life. We were quite young, none of us were making a ton of money, and having won the Audience Choice Award, that allowed us to come back to the Fringe, and that's meant that we've been able to continue doing what we do. So be brave.
Yeah, put yourself out there. Go on. Sarah, your highlight from 22. Go for it.
Well, very quickly, I'm going to tap onto what Hattie was just saying. Shy bands get no sweets. So don't be shy. Put yourself forward. You don't know whether, it's going to come to you or not. But by being brave and stepping up, you give yourself a chance. If you're not in it, you can't win it. So put yourselves forward and roll those dice, because you get nothing by not doing it. So yes. Also, a number of the bursaries, it will sound really strange, but Brighton Fringe is constantly trying to give this money away.
We are,
because people just don't step up for it.
Indeed. Sorry to interrupt. I can see in the polls that 56% of you are local to Brighton, and a lot of them are applicable to Brighton. A lot of them, the majority, I'd say, are for Brighton-based companies.
So take that half hour, take that hour, take that 5 minutes, whatever it is, to put yourself forward for those bursaries, because they're there to be used. And that also perversely means that the sponsors will come back again because their bursaries were used. They use these bursaries as a way to make you aware of them and their services, and or just be altruistic, because there are a few altruistic people out in the world. But they're there to be used. Don't be shy. Just get out there and do it. Get your bother boots on, get in there, stomp about.
That is yes, one of the things. Yeah, I mean, as he's saying, it's a different. I mean, if it's not different, it's not that different to other Fringe festivals, but to festivals in general. You're paying to play. You really have to put a lot. You have to put quite a bit of work in to if you want, whatever. As we said, whatever we deem to be success. If you want that success, you will have to do some legwork for it, and it's a hustle, but I mean it's a fun one. So I mean I'm biased, I'd say.
There's far less risk than for many things in life. So go for it. Exactly. My highlight of 2022 is kind of tricky, because as a venue manager, what I tend to see of the Fringe is, well, my venue. But it was fantastic that things are opening up again, that people are feeling that they're willing to travel, even from places in Europe. People are wanting to get up and out and get their work back on the stage, and the variety of work was still there. We had everything from clowning through to spoken word, and really successful program of work. Lots of different things even some awards sprinkled across our venue, which was lovely. But that's not why we do it. Actually, to answer someone's question, does it cost anything? I don't believe that it costs anything to register for any of the awards, even the ones where they choose you. I don't believe it costs anything at all. So again, it's similar with the bursaries, nothing other than your registration fee. Those extra bits don't cost.
No,
so
indeed, that's part of what you pay for your registration fee is that's
get
what
access to
comes
those
with
things.
Indeed.
And sorry, just to get on an old hobby horse of mine, go through the website. A lot of people, I know it's a lot of information, but it's really important. The Fringe office for years have been making these amazing resources for people that are free to use, and they're free to use even when you're not doing Brighton Fringe. So like next year, if you're looking for maybe some update on marketing techniques or flyering or PLI or any of these things, these Fringe Academy resources are there for you to use. So take advantage. There's very few free things in life. Go for it, grab them with both hands and run away giggling, because this stuff will help you. So take a little bit of time, give yourself an afternoon, etc., and go through it and see what you can glean from it, and then do that moderately regularly so you can see what is new. So yeah, just to think, as I'm seeing someone ask about the best venue for children's theatre. I'm not going to comment on that because as a venue I'm biased, but I will say that we do children's theatre, but we do just about everything. The only things we don't really do are dance, because our stage and floor is just not quite up for it. We used to be based on concrete, and I was never allowing a dancer to dance on my concrete floor ever, because I used to do that as a child and my legs are no longer working quite so well because of it. But we take everything that will fit on our stage. Our stage is 3 meters wide by 2.5 meters deep. A ceiling, I think, is about 2.5 to 3 meters. So yeah, I don't know of any venues that specifically kind of clean up on the children's theatre. If I was thinking about it, I would probably suggest ourselves and Rotunda and Spiegel Tent. I would think of places like the Exeter Street Hall, Wagner Hall. Off the top of my head, I don't know I have to say I didn't look through and see who has kind of popped up and said, hey, we're here, we're doing stuff this year. Yes.
Yeah, very good suggestions. I will echo that point, is that we don't first thing to note, I don't think I said this before, but all of the venue so the venues sorry, that's what I was going to say. I was getting back to Susie's original question, so in the first one in the chat, which is about venues being, the venue choice being so vast. The venue, what I wanted to specify is that the venue list on the brightonfringe.org website, where it says venues on the top header, that is actually still live from our 2022 season. So we had the what's on section and the venues section. We left the venues section up just so that you could get an idea of the sort of venues that have taken part. Venues have to re-register themselves every year, so they just have to add themselves into the next season. The vast majority of venues and the venues in that section return year on year. At the moment, maybe I might just do something actually. Let's share my screen for a second and I can show you. Right, 1 second. Here we are. So so you've got the venues page on the Brighton Fringe website. My favorite thing about this page is that the first result is just someone's house that they decided to do a Fringe show in, which is fun. So they did a show. That's also a thing. If there's a space that hasn't taken part in the Fringe before, it's free for venues to register and they can do so at any time. which is why you're not seeing a complete list of venues if you've gotten to that section of your Eventatron registration yet. But these are all of the ones that took part in 2021. You can go through, and you can also, you might be able to choose some facility stuff there. But where this differs, you can see we've got 124 venues in there at the moment. Where this differs is if I go into my test Eventatron registration. This is the registration website that I was speaking about previously, called Eventatron. If you've got a profile that you've used for a different season so if you've been to a different festival that also uses Eventatron, you can actually add that profile back into the 2023 season. Or you can create a new event just by there. Again, the video guide will be so soon, and it's very similar to this. But I will go into one of my test events. It's in the Brighton Fringe 2023 tab, is the registration form for this year. And you can see that this event has taken part in previous ones as well. So in this in your registration form, this is the first section where you just fill out some basic information. This will be available to venues when they message you or say that they're interested in performing there. So this isn't for a listing or anything. It's mainly just to give the venues a bit more information about your show. Then you get into the second step section, which is step 2, apply to venue. Here you can see a bunch of random tests, but these are the venues that have registered so far for Brighton Fringe 2023. You get a little bit of information about each one. And then if you click on one of these, you'll get a bit more information, and you can see any extra pictures that they've put in at the bottom here. You can see where they are on the map. And if they filled out their venue their venue profile, then you'll see all of the information about sort of what sort of tech and type of space it is as well. Now, contacting venues, I'm just ripping off my own guide that I've just recorded, but contacting venues, you can do it one of two ways. You can either use the main contact details here and give them a phone call or an email if they're listed there. You can also go into the Inquire tab or click Inquire and Apply, and you can send messages through here as well. And that will send an email notification to the venue as well. But whatever you prefer, you can do that. So I'd recommend having a look through this section. I recommend everyone in this core. It doesn't matter if you're going to walk away from it or you're going to come back and do it next year instead, or in 2024 instead. I recommend setting up an Eventatron account and making an event registration so you can get to this point. There's no commitment of you actually taking part, but it is very handy to be able to see all of the information for the venues that are confirmed to perform this year. Alternatively, as I said, this venue section is still listed because this is public facing. We don't actually have the main contact details listed in any of these profiles, but you can do a bit of internet sleuthing, I'm sure, to find out based on the title of the venue and find out a bit more information about them. We also have if you go into the apply to venue section, we have a choose facilities where you can do the filters on the stuff in their profile that I was just showing you. You can also filter by capacity if that's something that's a hard requirement for you. And yeah, so that is something that is, I explained in the video guide, but it's not up, so I thought I'd show you just now of how to get to that first stage of looking for venues. Maybe if I stop that now. So yes, do go onto Eventatron and have a look at all of that stuff. There's no, as I said, there's no commitment to taking part. Even if you just walk away from this, you may get reminder emails from us when it comes up to registration deadlines and such. But yeah, that's all on Eventatron. What did I do with the chat? Oh no, where is it? How have I lost the chat? Oh, okay, there we go. Great. Moving along, Maria, I feel like the questions about success previously have answered what makes a successful show, or that make things a successful show. If you feel like not, let me know and we can go into that further. But I'm moving on to Paul. I would be very interested. Paul says, how long does a typical grant application take to process? So are you talking about a specific grant? If so, is that an Arts Council grant? Or yeah, let me know if you could send a follow-up question. That'd be great. Nothing specific. So it really, I mean, it varies drastically depending on what sort of thing you'd be applying for, what information they're asking for, how big the application is. If you do want any specific advice on things that you're applying for, one, I would recommend the Fringe Academies that I've mentioned before, that about fundraising, or the ACE one as well, if you want to find out specifically about Arts Council funding. So do have a look at that. If you've got any other questions that are more specific or something more about your event, just drop us an email at takepart@brightonfringe.org, and we should be able to shed some more light on the situation. When is the closing date for applications? He's doing it. I'm going to share my screen again. So back to back, I can show you this, I can tell you, and I can also show you where to find these sort of things on the Fringe website. So if you go back into the participants area, you can also search at the top here. So if I just go for dates, then I'll get to the dates and deadlines page. At the moment, we're in the early bird registration period, which closes on the Friday, the 25th of November. We then have a quick hustle to get all of those events set up, and we put them on sale to the Friends of Brighton Fringe, which is the membership scheme, like the loyalty membership scheme that we run. They go live to them on the 1st of December, and then the general public on the 2nd of December. And then we reopen for registration for the general on sale period on the 28th of November. That general on sale, the registration period will run until the 7th of February. So that is a little bit longer than the early bird period. I will say, so the early bird registration period, that gets you put on sale a bit earlier, and it also means that you get a discount on your registration fee. And then the general on sale period means that you're included in the big general ticket release campaign that we'll be doing. Something that I haven't mentioned yet, but that we've been shouting about recently, is the fact that we won't be doing a printed brochure for 2023. We didn't do a full printed brochure last year, but we did a smaller compact daily diary of running, like the running order of all of the events taking part in the festival. But unfortunately, we won't be producing an official sort of big print run to the scale of either of those for 2023. This is due to a myriad of factors, but you can actually, I believe we should, if you go into the news section, yes, we do have a page that goes into more depth about why we don't have a brochure for this year. So do have a look at that if you're interested in learning more. Back to deadlines, and then so for the general on sale period, the deadline for that is the 7th of February, and then 10 days later, well, just under, so we'll have on the Thursday, the 16th of February, that's when tickets will go on sale to friends, and then the 17th to the general public, and that'll be the big, that's what we're shouting about, tickets are on sale. Go and get them now. That's all of the events that would have registered up until that point. Apart from the early bird ones will already be on sale, but then you'll just get a second shout out. After the 7th of February, registration will be closed for a minute while we sort out all of the events that have registered and get them set up to go on sale. And then we do reopen registration on the 13th of February for any latecomers. And we'll put any registrations after the general on sale period. We'll be putting up registrations on the website on a rolling basis. Yeah, once everything else is on sale. So that is yeah, deadlines. I was just flicking back to the chat. Doesn't cost anything for the awards. We've been through that one. Jasmine with yeah, children venues, as I said, go through. I would also recommend, that's something one of the things that so it's on yourself to get the venue a venue agreement confirmed with the place that you'll be performing in or exhibiting in. So you will have to speak to the venue managers, get an agreement confirmed, and then once you've done that, you'll get connected in Eventatron. So where was I going with that? Oh yeah, one of the things to ask is, do ask what sort of you can inquire when you're talking to people, ask what sort of work that they program, see if there's a different we do have, oh god, we've got like bank holidays and like school breaks during the Fringe as well, so I would recommend looking at like the public calendar, like the government calendar as well, to see about those sorts of things. So some people do go a bit more like child heavy on those days potentially, but yes, do just talk to your venue and see what they have to say. Speaking of what venues have to say, so
Hi. So just on that note, with regards to venues, oh, sorry, hang on. No, I'm having a moment and I've just forgotten exactly what I was.
It'll come back.
It will come back. Sorry, talking programming. Yes, sorry. So some venues will register your shows for you, and some venues require you to do the registration. That should be made clear during that conversation that you have with your venue. I can tell you now that Sweet Venues is described as a managed venue, which means that we look after your registration for you. We register all our shows together, which means that we can offer people the 15% discount. Because it takes us a little longer, we can do a small number of early bird registrations, but the majority of our program won't get resolved until that general on sale deadline of February. So what we can do to offset that is to register all our shows and get you that 15% discount. But do double check with your venues when you're in conversation about how that works.
Yes, it's very important. So as you said, like Sweet Venues, there'll be like a handoff where they handle the registration, and it does vary. A couple of venues do that, and because you can get onto registration fees as well, but a couple, so if a promoter or a venue is registering more than 15 registrations at the same time, then they get a discount on the registration fee, and that means that a lot of those venues won't be, as Sarah said, won't be strictly working towards that early bird deadline. That also goes the same for Brighton Spiegel Tent. Been getting quite a few questions this week about where they are in the venue browser, but they haven't. So it's places like Sweet, Brighton Spiegel Tent. Oh god, why is it escaping me now? But yeah, so do talk to your venues and see what that process is, and yeah, they hopefully should come out in conversation. If you're unsure about anything as well, just drop us an email or a phone call, and we'll be able to shed some light on that. Another question from Jasmine. Yes, those questions on the registration form, let me just see if I can pull them up quickly. It's this is this is mainly for internal purposes, but just for general. Sorry, she said I should ask a question. They said on events trying to ask you if you have if the work is like work with LGBTQ plus participants, etc. Does that include our creative team? So this is like specific to your company. So we're interested if again I can share. I'm going screen sharing mad today actually. So let's just go back so you can see what I'm looking at. We're working through the registration form. We haven't connected to a venue yet, but in step 3 about my company, at the bottom here, this is mainly for monitoring, but we will contact you if we highlight events in this way. But there are some questions here. This is mainly relating to performers and company members. So yeah, anyone involved with your show. So that's what that question was referencing there. Again, if you do want to let us know, don't let us know. It's completely optional. You will see it would be great if you can fill out all of the sections in this registration form. You will see that the questions that we are mandatory will be highlighted red. I don't think, oh, there we are. Yeah, I've got one here. Yeah, so it'll look like that if you need it to finalize. But there are other stuff which you can very much do fill in, but it's not required for you to be able to finalize your event registration. Joe, I will email it to everyone, Joe. I might go crazy and put this. Sorry, Joe says, how can I get this recording that I'm currently recording? I will most likely put it on, I wasn't going to, but I will now and put it on the Fringe Academy resources page. So again, if you go into the Take Part participants, Fringe Academy resources, you can see all of these things here, and it will be like this, and then you can link this page out to any useful any interested parties. It will encourage my students to get their asses into gear. That's great. What students wear? Did you mention that previously? It'd be interesting to know. But yeah, let me know. Julianne, as a Londoner, if for example I use that to perform us in Brighton, would it be applicable to apply for Brighton bursaries? I'd say yes. There's, again, with these bursary things, unless it explicitly says like all company members should be from Brighton, or unless it's got like very specific criteria, just what's the harm in applying for it anyway? The worst thing that I'll do is be like, oh no, sorry, they're not, that one's not eligible. But that sounds like, if people are Brighton based that are involved with the performance or performing in it, then unless I'm forgetting of a bursary that's very specific, I think that would be somewhat, I think that would be eligible.
For example, it was incredibly flattering to be picked on the Fuse International Youth Programme when I'm 34. But the members of my company are under 26.
Yes, indeed. So that's, for example, one of those things is at least one of your performers needed to be, or company members needed to be under 26. So do look at all of that stuff. And what's the harm in applying for it anyway? I think the worst we'll do is say no, and then that'll be it. So Paul say, how would a bursary application work? In regards to the Brighton Fringe bursaries, while I've still got this open actually, if you're looking at the bursaries on here, so one thing is, so these bursaries are spread across the 2 waves of registration. So as I said, we'll have the early bird period and the general on sale period. At the moment, these are the ones that will be included in wave 1. So you can apply for these. They're open now. Most of these consist of a little Google form. So you can apply through the application form here, and then just fill out your details. As you can see, it's not that extensive, but it's just basic information. And then if they want to know more about your event, then they'll be in contact as well. But you can also see the deadlines on here. So for the wave 1 ones, generally I've tried to line them up to follow the same sort of dates to make things less confusing. Is that most of the wave 1 bursaries will open, are already open. They opened on the 12th of October. They will close on the 11th of November with a winner, or winners being announced by the 17th of November. I can just look in one of these and check. Sorry, yeah, so deadline on the 11th, we announce the winners on the 17th, and then that still gives you a week as well to get in for the early bird deadline. So if you're unsuccessful or something, then you can still, you've got time to have a think about getting in, or if you're holding off before finding out, then yeah, that's all possible. And then also you can see we haven't got we will have some more being added to wave 2 as well, but you can get an idea of what will be available in the second wave. Again, if you click into any of these, on another bird and blend one. So most of the second wave ones will open on the 28th of November. That's when we reopen for the general registration period, and then they'll close on the 23rd of January. Again, this is so that we can give a week to confirm the winners, and then after that there's still a week before the registration deadline. So again, if you're holding off or yeah, umming and ahhing, you've got time, a little bit of time to make that choice, whereas before, yeah, it didn't quite line up. But yeah, so do have a look through these. Northbrook, awesome, lovely stuff. So I'm just reading through the chat now. And performance students, great. Well done. Well, yeah, hopefully they find this encouraging. Sign up. We've got bursaries for young people. As I recommend pointing them to the Pebble Trust bursaries. These are very cool. There are 3 bursaries everyone gets, or the 3 recipients get a free registration, £500 towards production costs, and 6 hours of mentoring with an industry professional. And so this has changed actually slightly. So now it's the majority of people involved should have a BM postcode and are aged under the age of 25. So yeah, do point them to that.
Sorry, Cameron, just to interrupt.
Yes.
I mentored
Oh, you did, didn't you? Of course, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Some of the last bursary winners, and yeah, it was a really great experience. So they specifically came to me because I had knowledge of marketing within the music industry, because there were a bunch of DJs who were putting on an event for Brighton Fringe. So it was a kind of I could help them with the marketing aspect and the music industry aspect and the Brighton Fringe aspect. But you can, if you win the bursary, then you are welcome to kind of tailor who you need to mentor you, and we will try and find the best person to do that as well. So yeah, that's just a kind of encouragement. If you were looking to kind of go for bursaries, then the help that you get will be kind of specifically for your needs, which is a good thing.
Indeed. Yeah, that was great. So I'm horrible at reading and talking at the same time. Yeah, there's no harm in applying, just go for it. You can apply for multiple bursaries. We have people that I believe we've had people that have won multiple bursaries in the past. I think what happened, someone won 2 bursaries last year, I believe, and they were both a free registration, and they ended up getting a free registration, and then I think it was £135, which was their registration again, just as money for them, because they won 2. So yeah, it's just might as well go for it. And you can apply for multiple, obviously, as I just said. Do you need to have your application completed? So that's, I assume you have the Adventuretron registration, the application for that. You again check on the specific bursaries. Some will say, I don't know if we've got any that are. Do we have any that I'm just trying to think? Yeah, so we've got a couple like the Ironclad ones. You need to have a finalized event registration. So yeah, do look in the criteria of each one. Quite a few will say that you'll need to have a venue confirmed, at least in principle, and that's mainly just to make sure that they know that you're seriously thinking about taking part and yeah, coming along. Is that they just want to know that if you're in conversations with or got a venue lined up. So yeah, that's most of them. But again, if they're interested and want to support your event, then we'll be in contact to confirm any of those details as well. So there's no harm in applying. There we are. Well, I've lost the chat again. Where has it gone? Here we are.
Actually, Cam, if I can
Yes.
just tag in for Paul's question, the last bit of it is roughly what percentage of the show's budget would they cover?
Oh, sorry.
So the budgeting question is a tricky one, but also quite straightforward. Every show's budget is completely different because it might be a 1-person show, it might be a 10-person show. Everybody might be donating their time. No one might be donating their time. It will really depend on what you're doing with your show. Maybe you have Edwardian teapots. Maybe you don't care about Edwardian teapots. It will all depend about whether you're beg, borrowing, stealing, buying, whatever. So your budget is whatever you need it to be. There is no Fringe show budget per se, because they're all completely different. A 1-person show could, in theory, cost as much as a 20-person show, just that they've got different needs. Maybe there's transport involved. Maybe there's a big set piece. Who knows? So I realize that makes it as clear as mud, but that is also because the answer just is, very frankly, whatever you need that budget to be.
Indeed. I would. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I don't. Well, what I meant was, I don't know. Do some bursary schemes have like a thing where they're like, what's your budget? We will cover 10% of that or whatever.
No, unfortunately not. Most of them, if they do offer like monetary support, it'll be just like a set
It's a flat rate.
Yeah, so like the Pebble Trust ones, that was like 500. The Pride ones, they will offer, that's in the second wave, but the Pride bursaries are really good. But that's just £250 to 5 people, and you're either part of the LGBTQ plus community or that like have very strong themes, or is the conversation piece of the event. And again, that comes out in when you describe it in your little bursary application in the Google form. So yeah, most of them are free registration or free registration plus or a bit of money. But yeah, they all have individual criteria and application processes, so just to have a click through on that page as well. Get back to the budget, and as you were saying with budgeting just in general, so the main, so as you say, as Sarah said, it can vary so drastically depending on what the event is. But sort of the main things I'd say to initially consider would be the registration fee with Brighton Fringe, your venue hire costs, and if you're not local to Brighton, travel and accommodation as well. Those are sort of the big three, I'd say, to be able to actually turn up and perform at the Fringe, is having a place to stay, a venue to do it in, and to get registered. And then everything else will really vary, like it's like if how much you're spending on marketing or or other sort of promotional things as well. But those are the sort of the cornerstones to think about, I guess, when you're getting into it. No worries. Katie, if you're still developing your show, how much information per minute are you expected to have? So if you're that's a tricky one. I mean, it's just, I guess, there's no like hard and fast rule. I'm don't believe like a venue would ask you for to proof of a finished piece, and a lot of things aren't finished at the time of registration. I'd say probably the majority, unless it's a piece that's ready to go, and then obviously it will be. But
Do you
I
want me
guess,
to?
yeah, sorry,
Do you want me to
how
take
much
that?
information do you want to know, Sarah? You're the venue manager.
Well, so what we like to see is a really clear idea about what it is you're going to do. If the script isn't finished, that's not a big deal. If the show hasn't been written yet, some people start in March. I wouldn't recommend that as a tactic, but some people do it. Some people do last minute things. But what I personally will need to register your show is you have enough of an idea that you can write the blurb. You must have a show image, and realistically how much space you're going to need and or how many performers. If that goes up by 1 or 2, that's no skin off anybody's nose. But 20 people on a stage is vastly different from 2 or 1. A show image is the image that you're going to use to identify your show. So that'll be the image that you use on the website. It's the image that you'll use on your posters, flyers, and probably your online marketing. We thoroughly recommend that you use the same image across all of those things, because you want people to be able to go, oh, it's that red rose. That's right. That's that show. I've been meaning to book it for weeks. I must do it now. Because it takes several viewings of an image for people to make that final jump, unless they're your mum. Your mum is probably going to buy tickets to your show regardless. Certainly my mum did. But a show image, and certainly when Sweet is doing stuff, where possible, we don't want any text in the image. It's not your poster. It's the image that becomes your poster, your thumbnail on Facebook, your thumbnail on the Brighton Fringe website, etc., etc., etc. So it's just the image. Now, sometimes there is a little bit of text in that, but the reason we encourage people to have as little text as possible is that depending on the size of the image, depends on whether that text is legible. And there's no point having something terribly clever written if you can't read it.
Gospel.
I hope that helps.
No, yeah, definitely. That is, yeah, very true. And Hattie, what would you say? Have you ever been in a situation? Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say what's the least that you've known about a show before, like thinking I'm going to take it to Fringe, but like, have you? Because I know you're well prepared in going into endeavors. But what's?
Oh, Cameron, you've asked the right gal. So it's really interesting. So with Clapback Club, because we're a company of 6 with a producer and a director, so that takes us to 8 in total. Generally, I mean, there are more of us scattered about, but generally when we're kind of getting a show ready, so we will start writing in January to kind of have ideas, then we flesh out those ideas and kind of polish it off in February. March we begin kind of blocking and rehearsals, because we do musical performance. We'll choose our songs and we'll start kind of having the structure of everything ready, and then April we'll have everything, like we're full on rehearsals, props, costumes, everything sorted and ready, and we'll just be rehearsing it, and then May we're good to go. So that's a long process from kind of January to May. The closest skin of my teeth thing that I have done in my entire life is October of 2020, I premiered my first ever solo show, a one-woman musical that I wrote and directed and basically did everything other than produce. And I had intended to do this for the May of 2020, but obviously lockdown hit, didn't happen. And then I was like, okay, well, that's fine. We probably won't have a Brighton Fringe this year, so I'll just put it on the back burner. And then Brighton Fringe, in their wisdom and bravery, decided that we would have an October Fringe, which I was really proud to be a part of. And so I was like, great, I'm absolutely going to do it. And then I put my registration in, decided to kind of go for it, and then had to move house, like smack bang in the middle. I finished writing my script on the Friday morning and started my show on the Monday. Don't do that. I mean, I did it. I bossed it. Would not recommend.
You really did. You really did boss it. We were there. We observed all of this.
They observed. They talked me down.
One of the things that you did have clearly, though, at the beginning of the process was that you knew what you wanted the show to be called, and you had a sense of what you wanted the kind of show image, essence of this show image. You seem to have that all really clearly in advance, because when you're having to program in advance, the actual details, you know, we left you to get on with your artistic process, because we're not going to dictate anyone's artistic process. But the things that we need are the things like the images and the blurb. Now, the blurb is the however many characters, I think it's up to 1,000 now on the website, 1,000 characters, including spaces and returns. And that is to describe your show. And you had that nice and clearly, even though you were still fleshing out the details, the moments, the songs and the poignant U-turns, etc., within the specifics of the show. But the sort of admin bollocks, if I might say, you already had that in place, so that you know, it might end up being a little generic, but you know, you still have some text that can advertise the show in advance of you getting your act together.
Absolutely, don't get me wrong. I mean, this was a show that was kind of in its inception for a long time. So I did have a plan in place. I mean, I did it by the skin of my teeth, but that was just through timing and circumstances and me being
life.
And life. But I had a very clear idea of what I was doing. I was lucky enough to be produced by Sweet Productions, which I think probably helped as well, because you had seen me kind of go through the stages a bit. So yes, it was, although it was by the skin of my teeth, there were a lot of kind of pulleys in the background and a big kind of framework of what I was doing. I wasn't just stepping on a stage going, oh.
No, it was absolutely excellent. And it was that clarity of thought that allowed you to do both of those things, both have that clarity of image and blurb at the beginning, but then also that last minute, I need to change that song, or I need to change that line, or I need to change that whatever. And so, yeah.
And actually, I've just remembered as well, this gives you quite an insight into who I am as a human, so apologies. So I am the day that I registered my show, The Geek Shall Inherit, I had decided that I wanted a bit of time to I wanted to self-produce, and I wanted a bit of time to be better at comedy. So I was going to spend some time crowdfunding to put my show on and basically do a load of comedy gigs. And if I made any money from the comedy gigs, then kind of put that into a kitty so that I could self-produce a show. And I remember talking to JD from Sweet Venues, who also runs Sweet Productions, and I told him my show idea, and he really, really loved it. And he was like, I'll produce you. And I was like, no, you won't. And he was like, I'll produce you. And I was like, no, you won't. And I kind of, because I hadn't done it before, I just wasn't really sure what that would entail. And I was quite kind of happy. I just wanted to do it in Brighton. I've kind of put on events in Brighton. I felt like I knew the area. So I was like, oh, I can do it myself. And then as I kind of saw him one day, and he was like, how's the show going? And I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to wait. And he was like, I've said that I would produce it for you. And I kind of went, oh, I suppose. And he went, are you dragging your heels so that you don't have to put it on? And I was like, no. And he went, are you sure? And I went, maybe. And he was like, okay, I will produce your show if you want me to. So I went, okay, fine. I suppose we probably ought to have like a coffee and a conversation about it, because registration deadline is, and he went, tomorrow. And I went, oh, okay. So thankfully it was when Sweet Venues used to be at the Works, which is a co-working space in town. And I was sat there with Alice, who is my producer for Clapback Club, and she also happens to do graphic design. I happen to write copy for a living. So the two of us kind of sat there and went, okay, we can do this. So I went and had the coffee with JD, fleshed out the idea of my show, went, can we really put this on? And he went, yeah, absolutely we can. I had until midday the next day. So I went for a wine with Alice after I'd had the coffee with JD and said, this is what I want the image to look like. I guess, does this blurb sound right to you? And she was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And I was like, great. And you think you can do the image? And she was like, absolutely, I can. And I was like, okay, great. Let's meet there tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Let's get it out there. Had everything done by midday, and apparently was one of the only people to actually have the right length blurb and the correct size and format of image.
Yeah, you totally were.
If you're asking about skin of your teeth, that is a little anecdote.
And what a lovely image it is. Here we are. This is an example. There are a few people asking about a show image. So this is the Geek Shilling here. Hattie's listing from 2021. 22, sorry, why do I keep doing that? And then you can see you're allowed. So if I hop into an Adventuretron registration. In step 6, web and app listing, this is where you'll put in information about that feeds into your listing. So the company name, as you can see here, is Hattie Snooks / Sweet Productions. That's what will be there. Ignore the horrible images at the moment. I just needed something for this test. But you're allowed up to 3 images on your listing. So you need 1 as mandatory, but you can have up to 3. So you go through and you add them in this section here. Then that feeds into your listing, which, as you can see, you can scroll through. There she is on the stage. And then also you've got your copy here. So that comes from, again, your web and app listing section. Down here, this is where you'll put in your Fringe website copy. I will actually also give you a slight sneak preview. I recently got this back from something that I haven't mentioned up until this point, is that we are having a slight switch in back-end systems. Well, quite a big switch in back-end systems, where we're moving box office providers from this company called Red 61. Red 61 make Veer, is that's the right way around, isn't it? Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So Red 61 and Veer, and we're moving to Adventuretron's box office solution, which is the registration website that we use. That won't affect you, especially if you haven't taken part before. That won't have a massive effect on you, apart from some benefits, which means that you will previously, with people taking part, you would have Adventuretron, where you would register your event, and then you would also have a different website to check ticket sales. It will all be on the Adventuretron platform now, so this is where you would come to check ticket sales as well. It also means that we are getting a slight a new website, so it looks fairly similar, but it's basically, it gives us a lot more control. We're leaving our old web developer and joining our new one, and it gives us a lot more control on being able to edit and respond to feedback and make changes. And I can actually show you, we got some drafts. These aren't proper websites, but they're like mock-up pages, but I can show you up here. We've got some things. So this is an example of the thumbnail listings, as we were talking before, and new to yeah, also, which is new as well, there's a little highlight, a little preview of the copy as well. So that's a section in your registration form. But yeah, so this is what your thumbnail will most likely look like on the Fringe on the Fringe website. You can then go in and you can see more information about the event. Again, you can have multiple images, but you want your image, because there's a lot of text on this page. I say that you want, like with the Geeks and Inherit, you want a nice, striking image to be your first, that you can then, this is a really versatile image as well to be put on poster designs, to have like additional text around it, and it's a good base it's a for promoting your event. So I'd say that'd be a tip from me, is to keep it simple yet intriguing. You want people to be like, what's that about? But you don't want people to, you don't want it to be an eye test, as Sarah was saying.
Well, if Hetty is okay with this, if we could use the first two images, this image lends itself beautifully to being used on a poster, on flyers, etc., because you will have words going over the top. The colors are simple. The image is clear. You can build a picture around it. You can crop it, in a profile, or you can leave it wide. There's lots of choices that you can have. If you could flip over to the next image.
Oh, what? Sorry. Oh, on there, yeah.
Yeah. So this is a lovely production image. It gives you a sense. There's a young person. There's geek. On a phone, seated somewhere, either coffee shop or lounge room. There's geeky stuff there. It's a brilliant kind of snapshot of the show itself. The problem with this image is all of the colors and textures that are there. Turning that image into a poster would be super difficult, because you're already going to have to put extra words in there. So you're going to have colors and shapes and textures for the text. And that's going to clash with the patterns on the sofas, etc. There's a lot going on in the image, and as an image it's brilliant, but as a poster or a show image, it's less versatile. I hope that's clear, and I hope I haven't just made things very, very messy. But
I'd say that's clear. It's
as a production shot, snapshot of show, this is a brilliant image. As a show image, the image that you're going to use to advertise and market your show, the first one with the blue with the hand is better, because it has that simplicity and clarity. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, no, exactly. Very, very helpful stuff. As you can see, yeah, just like a simple image with not that much text. And these are all pulling through from last year's season, or the season just gone even. So as you can see, that's sort of, there's a lot of repeats. Okay, ignore that. But yeah, just something simple. Again, we also have a small marketing team at Brighton Fringe with Rhiannon Lingwood, who's our marketing manager, and Matt, our marketing assistant as well. If you've got questions about your image, or you want feedback, or any of the above, do just get in touch with them. You can find them at marketing@brightonfringe.org. So just marketing at we take part at for participant services. And yeah, just do ask them questions. They will also, as you can see, on the Fringe Academy resources page, I believe we're saying, I think we were going to say for either late December or early January, we'll be doing another just one for this season, how to market your event workshop as well. We also, along with that, they will have one-to-ones available as well with the marketing team, if you want to have a one-to-one with Rhiannon and Matt to talk about like running a successful campaign, or like the timings for what to post when throughout the season. I would very much recommend getting booked into those. And I believe actually we have now, I recommend in the participants area, but there's also a little how to market your event written guide that they put together, and we've got onto the website. So I recommend having a look at that as well. Again, just get in touch with us if you've got any questions. Hopefully we're not really scary, but ask. No worries. We are coming to the end. I had slated this until 7:30, and we're pretty much there. If anyone has any other burning questions or burning desires, you can either put them in now or drop us an email later or a phone call tomorrow. The phone lines are open 9:30 till 5:30 Monday, Friday. If you call the 907. Oh my god, thank you. That's almost the second time I didn't mention flyering, Annabelle. God, I didn't say it at the launch and I completely forgot, and it really annoyed me. But tips and rules on flyering. Yes, we have been having ongoing conversations with Brighton Council about flyering for Fringe participants. There's a whole back and forth last year where they tried to stop us flying and make us pay an extortionate amount of money for every performer to basically, if you're not local to Brighton, oh sorry, yeah, so I'll continue with this, and then sorry, Mark, I feel like I might have missed your question, unless sorry, Mark, I did. We'll skip back to that first for a second. I will talk about flyering eventually. Becoming. Do you have any advice for someone whose aim is to organize and participate in a range of events as means of becoming fairly soon? That's interesting. I would recommend there are places like the Ironclad creative. I'm still sharing my screen, aren't I? Let's have a look. There's Ironclad creative, which are a community interest company, which is like a professional development and like artist networking. I recommend checking out these guys. I recommend putting out call outs in the Brighton Fringe Facebook group. If you're looking to find people to work with. Did I read that right? Advice with areas organized
a pertinent question is also what style of comedy,
yes,
because
indeed.
the advice for stand-up will be different from if you're doing sketch or any other kind of comedy.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. It's a big spectrum of that sort of thing. We do also, I recommend during the Fringe as well for the last and we will have for this year. I recommend talking to the Independent Theatre Council. I've just gone to the main website, but again, another good body, which is very handy to talk to. They do one-to-ones about creative development during the Fringe as part of Fringe Academy, so I recommend looking at that and talking to people. And just getting involved with Fringe generally, coming to these sorts of events, putting yourself out there, and hopefully people will get in touch with you, and you can start forging those relationships.
Yes, go Hattie.
Sorry. If you're specifically looking at comedy, things on the comedy and entertainment scene, something that I would recommend is if you're looking to be involved in kind of spot shows and things like that, then I would look at the local Brighton scene outside of Fringe time, see if you can see any names that you recognize, and then when the Fringe program comes up and people have started registering, you can quite easily go, oh, I recognize that's a comedy night, and then you can get in touch with their producer and potentially get on the bill. There will be kind of various spot shows, and that's a really nice way of getting to know other comedians in the area, and maybe doing a variety of different venues, so that you're not just with one particularly, if you were wanting to kind of get to know everybody.
Absolutely. So, for example, the Carolina Brunswick hosts quite a variety of different kinds of comedy shows, including Cabaret Lab, which is not specifically comedy, but does support sketch and other forms of comedy that aren't just straight stand-up. Then you've got the stuff happening at the Caxton Arms. There's again a whole load of quite a community base there, and lots of different things going on. And likewise, there is a monthly night that happens at Sweet Venues year round called Extra Topping Comedy Showcase, and that will be appearing as a spot show in Fringe as well. So speaking to Simon Topping, see what he did there. If you talk to Simon Topping of Extra Topping Comedy Showcase, then he will be able to help you out and give you hints and tips about who else to talk to. And finally, the Spiegel Tent and Bosco are also really super good for comedy things that aren't just stand-up.
Also, you've got Artista do
That too,
comedy and Laughing Horse as well.
Yeah, indeed. Lots of comedy, lots of people to introduce yourself to and get and chatting with, because they're great. Annabelle gave Simon Topping last night. He is lovely. So Annabelle confirms, and getting to Annabelle also followed up with I believe you are asking about flyering as well. But basically, long-winded story about arguing with the council over after continuing the conversation. We didn't let it drop after this Fringe festival, and we kept on pestering them, and they've now agreed to revert back to like the original way that we did flyering, which is I need to confirm when exactly, but usually it used to be April is when participants were allowed to flyer. It should be from April onwards. You'll be allowed to flyer in the city if you include the Brighton Fringe logo on the printed material that you're distributing. That will act as your flyering pass in the city centre. You can see the map of where you need. Oh, he's going to do it. He's gone. He's going to do it again. So we have a page in the participants area. Oh my god, yeah, we do. I've just forgotten the alphabet. There we are. Flyering and fly posting. So you need this logo. It can be black or white, but this specific logo on your posters. You can see more information on the council website, but this is the map that you would need. This is just the council. You would need a map. So to fly in these areas, normally you would need to get a license off the council, because they're quite hot on finding people for flying without a license. But we have now come back to the original agreement that we had with them quite a few years ago, of saying that the badge is having this logo on your flyers. You can also, on this page, you can download all of a zip file of all of the logos and stuff there. There's also a nice flyer template if you want one as well. You can download on this page as well.
I would like to give a hint and tip that because it breaks my heart at the thought of coming back to ye olde flyering regime, whereby people purchase thousands of flyers, go through maybe half or maybe 3/4 of them, and then ditch the rest. Environmentally, it's awful. The cost of paper is through the roof, which is why we're not having, one of the many reasons we're not having a brochure this year. And environmentally, it's hell. So what can you do? Well, a thing that's come up via COVID, thing we can actually thank COVID for, is the use of the QR code. There are several ways you can do this. An effective way that some of my companies from last year chose to do was to get a print of their poster, either in A4 or A3, to laminate said poster, but to get their QR code either prominently on the poster or printed out large and laminate it on the back, so that you can walk around and do the talking points to your poster, and then flip it, and then you've got your QR code, which takes them hopefully straight to the booking page, and suddenly you've skipped a step whereby they might lose your flyer, forget what they were talking about, because they've got it on their phone. They're there, bish bash bosh, done. Another way of doing this is to have your show image or poster, depending on how clear your poster is, print it on a t-shirt. That way, everywhere you go, you are advertising your show, and get the QR code printed either on the back or on the shoulder. I initially started thinking, well, you could put it, kind of up on the top of your chest. And then I remembered that, photographing women's shoulders is, tantamount to getting them to photograph other bits of your body, and probably unwise. So stick to the shoulder and or the back, but a walking QR code is just brilliant. And people seem to get quite a bit of take up from that. And they didn't pollute the environment.
Great points. Yeah, you can also, I've seen people gamify that sort of thing as well, where you can turn it into a point of chatting to people. You can be as pro or con QR code whilst getting them to scan the QR code. Where you could be, oh, this is great, or I'm really sorry, but if you it's better for the environment.
Absolutely. And laminating or encapsulation, that's the other phrase you're looking for, because your printers should be able to do it for you. Or you could just buy a laminator and do it yourself. But, it means that your poster will survive. Your poster and QR code will survive the great British weather and your sweaty hands.
Indeed. Jasmine will, yes, more venues will be added to Eventatron. Again, this is on the individual venues to like resubmit themselves every year. So they have all been told that they're open for registration. Some will not be prioritizing on finalizing or getting registered for the early bird period. So there might be some that come after that. Some might just be, a busy year-round venue and just haven't got around to it. Don't be discouraged if they're not in the venue browser. I would always recommend doing some Googling and just sending an external contact to them. And then that will also, like, I'm telling them, you're telling them, so they'll probably get registered. So a two-pronged attack of sorts. And if you've got any questions about venues that have taken part in previous years and stuff as well, drop us an email and we can give you some pointers, especially if you give us like tech requirements, what you're sort of after, or staging stuff, or if there's a specific thing that you need, we should be able to help you.
Julianne, it was Sweet Venues. So it's Sweet of the Poets. You got it. Great.
Sarah, is it appropriate to contact you tomorrow? Sorry, you're on mute. Sorry, you're still on mute, Sarah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was trying to do too many things at once. My brain just melted. I'm more than happy to talk to people at any time. Early afternoon is better this week because we've got the Brighton Horror Fest ongoing until Sunday. So do check out sweetvenues.com if you are around in town, because we have lots of spooky things happening and they're all ace. But I'm happy to speak to people either by phone or either through Eventatron or by email. I'm more than happy to talk to you about your show, about your specific needs, because every show is different, and not one size does not fit all. And Sweet has some very specific ways of doing things, as will every other venue. Rialto does things their way, Rotunda does things their way, Spiegel Tent does things their way. So it's about finding where you fit. It's about finding where you sit right, all those kind of things. And if you think your show is not right for us, then I will absolutely say so, because there is no point having you in a place where you are miserable, where you feel like you're missing out, where you just don't feel heard or listened to or whatever. It's not good for any of us. And we, where possible, like to head that off at the pass. But yes, I'm very happy to speak to people in whatever way. And I believe all my contact details are findable via Eventatron.
Indeed. To go through Ruby, is there a main community area in Brighton Fringe where people gather? We do have so we have the participants hub that we ran for the first year at the Ledwood Centre last year. I would love for more people to come along and say hey. It was the first year that we were there, so it was sort of getting people to know that that's where we're based. But basically, for the whole of the Fringe, myself and the rest of the participant services team had a little info hub where we were set up with laptops at the Ledwood Centre, which is a relatively new LGBTQ plus community centre, which is it's like in the sort of same building structure as Jubilee Library on Jubilee Street, but it's one of the old shop fronts that was on like the glass face round the corner. And it's got a little a sign outside the front now. But we were a tiny bit hidden in plain sight, but it would we're open I haven't confirmed this year actually. I think I said 10 till 6, or maybe, yeah, I'll say 10 till 6 for now. Every day during the Fringe,
That's about right.
we'll be there. You can come along, get a coffee, sit down, have a chat. We also run specific networking events every Wednesday. We do the Hub Hangouts, which we encourage people to come down and chat and get the shared experience of Brighton Fringe going. We also run a couple of the Fringe Academy events that we run either on Zoom or based out of that centre during the month as well. So like we had the one-to-ones with the Independent Theatre Council. At the Hub Hangouts, something that I'd like to improve upon as well is having attendance from different organizations at those. So like we had Equity would come along and have a little corner in the room if you wanted to ask them any questions, and looking at getting people like Spotlight and other organizations down as well, so you can chat to those people. So it's just a bit of a mix, but hopefully Hattie will be at most of them as well, so you'll be able to talk to her in the flesh.
Yeah, that's the plan. The nice thing about as well, bye Jay. The nice thing as well with the Leadwood Centre is that it's kind of on the same stretch that what's it called? Fringe City happens on. Yeah, so Fringe City is basically where various venues and various performers bring kind of snippets of their show as street performance, so that when people are walking past, they can kind of get an idea of what's happening and they can fly there. New Road is also where people tend to fly. It's like our very, very, very tiny version of Edinburgh's Royal Mile. So that whole area kind of comes alive during Brighton Fringe time. Another thing that people will tend to find is that people tend to socialise kind of in the Spiegel Tent Gardens, which is obviously part of their venue, but a lot of kind of various people from various venues come and hang out there, and any of the other outdoor venues that happen to have kind of drinking areas, because where there's booze, there's people. But yeah, so there is quite a kind of buzz around the city when Brighton Fringe happens, and there are communal areas where people tend to go, and you will generally see me and Cameron and various others around. If you do see our faces, come say hi.
And if I can add one more thing, do take advantage. There is a thing that you can get as participants so you come along to Brighton whenever your show is, go to participant services, pick up your Brighton Fringe pass. There's a point to mentioning this, because with your Brighton Fringe pass, you can get access to the participant discounts on, I assume, on the website, but at venues that are offering the participant discounts, they will do that. In the past, Sweet has offered this, and I believe it is £3 for a show. Now it's a standby ticket. You have to wait till the final 5 minutes, and it is preferable in cash because the merchant fees on £3 is silly for card bookings. But come, bring your cash, pay. It'll be about £3, between 3 and 5, and that means that you can see more shows for more money, because you don't know who the next person you're collaborating with is. The side to this is that if you're with Sweet Venues, then the participant ticket is for Sweet Venues performers is £1. And again, it's 5 minutes before the show, but it means that if you've got press coming in, or a producer, or just would like to see more people in more bums on your seats, then you can do a shout out to our participants and go, come, today is a brilliant day. You pay your £1, bish bash bosh, you see the show. And that's our way of trying to facilitate people being able to afford to see shows, to value seeing the show. Paying £1 means that you've ponied up £1 of your money to see that show, so you're showing value and showing willing to participate and give a little bit to everybody. But it's our way of just trying to participate and make those potential collaborations that much more likely.
I would really, really back up what Sarah said there, and I think it's a really great thing to do if you are a participant. It is that kind of moment of like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and I think like, do it in terms of actually going to see as many shows as you can. Do it in terms of on social media and things, if you like the look of something, share it and go, oh, I fancy coming to see this. Does anyone want to come with me? Or just, this looks great. I'm really glad that this is happening at Brighton Fringe, and that sort of thing, because then you start to, again, kind of tap into that community. And that's a really great way of just making connections. And it actually helps with the marketing of things. It helps with selling your show. But it will also just kind of help with your artistry in general and your Brighton Fringe experience. So yeah, get the participants pass, go to as many shows as you can. Also, money off booze, I believe, in various places.
I believe, but
yeah, like the
again,
sleeper
will be
tent.
confirmed later down the line every year. But yeah, various discounts all available. Details on the Brighton Fringe website, but do check it out.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Amazing. We're there. I mean, we've overrun. We're past there. So well done, everyone. Thank you for sticking it out. I know it's always with these sort of things, it's always a bit of a information overload, and I can see that yeah, you've all been great. And if you do have any questions, I'm Cameron. I work in participant services. You can get to us by emailing takepart@brightonfringe.org or calling. Well, actually, you might be able to. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen anymore, of course. Yeah, or calling 01273 764 907. I will put this in the chat quickly. But yes, that's us. I've been joined so gracefully by Sarah and Hattie. We've got Sarah Johnson from Sweet Venues and Hattie Sneaks, performer, artist, and participant observer to the board. Amazing. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I need to say. I don't think so. That's our email and phone number there. Do just drop us a line if you've got any questions. We'd be more than happy to chat to you. Do look at the other Fringe Academy events as well coming up throughout the season. Get involved. Join the Facebook group as well. I'd recommend. Let me maybe find a link to that quickly. Is it this one? I think it's this one. Let's see. It is this one. Yeah, join that, get posting. I know that Facebook's hard, but it's you don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but it's handy sometimes, especially for networking type things. And there are quite a few as well. Last tip, I recommend looking for Brighton groups on Facebook. There are so many Brighton different various groups, comedy groups, theatre groups, acting, or just community groups as well. So if you've got your event hits on a certain theme or topic, get in touch with those people as well, and yeah, spread the word. But try not to spam. But apart from that, just be moderate in your messaging. But fun. I'm just saying words now because I don't know how to end this. But well done, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the call now. Hope you have a good evening. Gonna go get a drink. Would be lovely. But lovely. Take care, everyone.